Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to start off today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes from Christoph. Avant-garde metal from Hungary. Title translates to molecular machineries. Lyrics are very avant-garde, mostly about the human body, muscles described as grand molecular machines. So that sounds kind of cool. Dive into this. The band is the Catafalque, and the track is Molecularis Pezetek. Let's dive in and see what they're bringing to the table today. Oh, also it's 19 minutes. A lot of little ornamental flourishes, a bit lower down in volume, kind of bouncing from side to side, but if you pay attention, you can hear them. I'm not sure if the song wants to be a metal song or to have a nice dance beat to it, and I guess it kind of does both. This song is all over the place. I kind of like how the vocals are just large to the mic, though, really leaning into this idea of the body being made up of so many smaller parts. Nice bass solo here, but it's so quiet. The mix just got cut down, right? Also, it just dawned on me that I've been tricked. Y'all got me listening to black metal, and I didn't really recognize it until right now. Granted, I'd put this in experimental, maybe post-black metal. It's taken the blackened aesthetics, but not really being black metal often. But the 16th notes, the blast beats, the production, it all really clicked right there. Although I say post-black metal, this is 09. If anything, I'd say these folk were ahead of the curve. I'm really trying to keep this in perspective. This is a song about a bunch of little things coming together to create something much grander, much larger than the sum of their parts. I'm not going to say every moment of this track has really worked for me individually, but I really hope by the end of it, it's put into a perspective that I can appreciate. I do think I would enjoy this just a tad bit more with melody though. Everything is loop based, and so it's all very atmospheric and textual, very feeling. Not a lot of lead lines though. For better or worse, of course, personal biases are going to play into that. It's not. It's good. I just really wish it went somewhere, and maybe maybe it's not supposed to. Even this, which is a bit longer, some intense ringing. Even this melody, which is a bit longer, sitting about 8 bars, it's still a loop. But like, that's what the body is, right? A series of systems. No one's supposed to take the spotlight from any other. I have noticed that overall the song started out rather large and has been diminishing over time. I wonder if the purpose is to narrow it down and find the most molecular sound possible. I think the first time we've really heard anything not entirely positive, it's a little haunting. Right there. I wonder if there's any motifs I've been missing throughout here as well. I mean, like this melody line, I know I've heard before, but it was just recently. Like 2 sections ago. Wasn't present earlier, and I missed it. Bringing a little bit of a march, but I know we've also heard this section before too. The beat's new, but the piano's not, the sax isn't. It's a new combination, it's recontextualizing old ideas. From nothing nothing to a peak to like a 7, 6, back to back to back. We're gonna pump it back up. Yep. And now we bring it back down. Once you know what they're doing, you can see the signs. This guitar over here is doing some fun stuff. And now it's all come together. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be a fun analysis. Just look at that wall of sound. The volume just maxed out, not moving at all. As you can see down there too, it's just all bass. We have our mid here for the spoken word, and then just nothing in the high-end treble stuff. Ennek a következménye az az előző ábrán szemléltetett nyüskés mozgás, amit láttunk, tehát a fehérjék térszerkezete az örökös nyüskésben van szobahőmérsékleten, és ez a fajta flexibilitás teszi lehetővé azt, hogy a fehérjék, mint molekuláris gépek, atomi mozgások végrehajtására képesek. It's interesting right there at the end. I could see there was still some bass being present, but my headphones could not represent them. Way too low of a range. I was barely getting that sub bass present there. So I thought I knew where I wanted to take this analysis, and I don't anymore. See, my initial thought was that this was a journey, if you will, a very 80s, 90s journey into the body. Assuming that the description is accurate, that lyrically we are looking at the human body as a system of as a series of molecular systems, ever so tiny, but are necessary to make the entire body work as a whole. In which case, the beginning would be the body. It is everything. And we slowly peel layers away, which sounds very painful when talking about bodies, but we begin to remove layers and we explore just some of them in various configurations. The entire middle, like 10-minute segment that's primarily electronic based is a series of recontextualizations, callbacks, and motifs. There are, as far as I could hear, maybe like 8 to 10 different ideas, and we just got to hear a lot of different combinations of them. The ideas are all short and sweet, little 1 to 2 bar concepts that do one specific thing. Maybe they create a groove or a beat, maybe they create a chord progression, maybe they create a little looping melody. It's a bunch of little ideas, and we can see how these three work in tandem, or these four work in tandem, or these two plus one from that group plus one from that group, and we can see how they all interlink and interact together. And after we've dove so far into the microscopic elements of the body, we must track back out, adding layers into layers into layers until we come back out to the full song, the full body once again. This was the concept I had, and being able to hear all of these small elements would have recontextualized the big metal element at the end, because I'll be like, oh, there's that sax part again, and there's the little synth part, and here's the female vocal part, and well, none of them came back. Unless I was completely missing it, none of the motifs or any of the instruments in our middle electronic component were there at the end. The end felt like a revisiting of our beginning, and it still has this bookend element to it. It does still feel like a journey one way and then the round trip back. But I don't quite know what to make of it now, whereas I was kind of certain earlier. My hypothesis was incorrect. And so, without having an overarching narrative to help me understand what the track is doing, I'm left with just what the track did. And I'm not too sure it works devoid of concept. The middle 10-minute electronic section is so far divorced from our metal intro and outro that it could be an entirely song altogether. Could be a different song entirely. That's what I meant to say. It could be an entire song. I mean, it could also, but it also feels devoid of purpose, though, on its own. Its purpose is derived from the bookends, its contrast in relationship to the metal aspects. But unfortunately, I just don't see that strong of a relationship between the two of them. And so this is a song that kind of bounces back and forth between heavy black metal adjacent playing and dance vibe electronic stuff before leaning completely into the electronic and going a bit more avant-garde with it. And then eventually saying, oh yeah, we have a metal band around us and they might be bored. Hey y'all, you can play again. And that's our outro. None of the parts really work together in a way that feels cohesive, and maybe that is also kind of the point of it. I'm really grasping at straws here. When you look at individual cells of the body, you can't really see how they fit together. What's their purpose alongside each other? It really isn't until you zoom out and see how they all work together, and where you can't see the small things anymore at all, where you begin to see the muscles and the systems take place. You're like, oh, that's how it all works. But it's impossible to view both sides simultaneously, the molecular and the primary one, the what we see with our eyes. They're such vastly different worlds. So if you put human tissue, whatever organ you want, under a microscope, It looks nothing like the skin or the liver or blood or whatever. It's its own world. It's so divorced from everything else. It is so distinct from how we perceive it with our eyes. Is that what they're going? Again, it feels like I'm at a real big stretch here, but is that what they're going for? If so, I still think the two need to work together eventually, even if we can't perceive it. And the ending of this track and the intro, I believe, doesn't really showcase the two sides simultaneously. It always feels like they're at odds. They're either doing one or the other. So maybe I have the wrong perception on this entirely. I don't know. If you have insight into this, please let me know in the comments. What is your take on this entire mixing of electronic and metal here? Because I think I'm missing it. Moving forward, though, I do want to compliment the electronics section, primarily the middle 10 minutes or so. It is, I'll be honest, it's not my jam. It really isn't. There's a lot of really cool parts in it. I love the saxophone. I love the saxophone against the flute and the female vocals on top of the dance beat. I thought that section was really great. There are some combination of layers that really speak to me, but the end result is very close to EDM, in which case we have something that sounds pretty cool, but you have to really like it because you're going to listen to it for a while. There really isn't any lead elements in this track, which again, thematically, artistically, probably makes sense. But it makes it very adjacent to background music or soundtrack music for me, where there isn't anything for my attention to latch on to. It is a really solid foundation with nothing on top of it. And at least personally, my mind tends to wander in those situations. Fortunately, I think they moved along in ideas quickly enough that I never quite got too distracted from doing my job here, right? Listening to the music, reacting to it, trying to break it down. It seems like no longer than 8 to 16 bars at a time before we would introduce a new layer or remove a layer or go somewhere new or showcase a new timbre. It was constantly evolving, which, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a topic that also needs to come into play too. The human body isn't exactly stagnant, is it? It is always evolving. There's probably more layers here than I picked up on a first time listen. Regardless, getting away from the thematic element, because I don't know that I have much else to go on there unless I come to some wild revelations here. There are some moments in there I really liked. And the constant movement was nice too, but like I said, there's a lot of sections where we just sit in a sound for quite some time, and I found myself becoming less engaged with these moments. A new instrument comes in, that's cool. Second, third, fifth, eighth repetition, not really paying that much attention to it anymore. I'm really waiting for a new sound, a lead. And there were a couple of moments where I got my hopes up. I'd hear the beginnings of what sounds like a lead melody, only to find out that we just get the beginning over and over and over again. What could have been a 16 beat idea, or even a 16 bar idea, ends up just being a 4 beat idea, the beginning of a larger concept, but just a repetition of the beginning over and over. They tricked me with that often. It's like, oh, okay, here's a nice melody. No, it's not. It's another ostinato. um, and for better or worse, I still think thematically they're on the right track here, and I'm going to put the weight on me for not understanding it more than them for not executing properly. I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing, and it's quite dense, especially nearing 20 minutes long. I'm not going to pick it all up on a first time. Um, but it has bounced off of me for a first time listen while leaving me intrigued. It's one of those tracks where I can walk away and say, I didn't get it, and I'd like to. I don't necessarily want to listen to it again. I think a second listen might give way for some extra information, but this is something that I think I would rather find other experts to clue me in on. Sort of like when you watch a trippy movie or something. Maybe you give it a second time and you're like, I still don't get it. Mulholland Drive is a really good film for this. Um, and there just reaches a point where you're like, I'm not going to get this, and I don't know that I enjoy more watches or listens in this case than I've put in. And you turn to the internet, you turn to YouTube video essays, you turn to Reddit, and you try to find someone who can explain it for you. And I think that's where I'm sitting with this. I would not, like I said, I wouldn't mind another listen, but I think two is going to be the most for me because casually, this is so far away from what I would normally listen to, and I don't know that I enjoyed myself with it. But it is a puzzle I want to get cracked, and I'm not usually one to give up so quickly. I'd give it a second listen. But it is something that I'm going to be eagerly looking at the comments section for, and probably eventually another video, to help me understand it. Because I don't know that I'm going to unlock it all. I'm going to take a second to hit the lyrics here. We'll double check uh, what it's about, and then I guess we'll wrap it up. Sometimes you experience a work of art, and you just really have to question why. That's kind of a bit harsh on this, because this is an exceptionally competent work of art. The music is solid throughout across multiple fields. We have electronic and metal both at play. It is a marvelous combination of things, even if I don't necessarily think it all clicks for me personally. There is a lot of skill at play. These are not unskilled, talentless people making this. And lyrically, this is something. But I really have to question why, how, who sat in a room and said, I want to make this song, and who else sat around that same room and said, I'm in. Because this is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making fun of this at all, but it's so bizarre. It is a song about somebody who is just wildly fascinated by cells. It's not even about really the cells. It's about presumably the lead singer or possibly a character that they're uh, embodying, just really loving cells and like the physiology and anatomy of how life lives life is. Um, it starts off says carbon isotope, bake it up. The arms of a carbon isotope mill are moving. At the lights of new nano city, they walk and synthesize. Long live progress, long live light. Hydrogen bridge breaks into a clean future. Forward for shells, rings, meson fields, people of Hogatag Cold Basin. Forward, all forward. we break from here into a tiny little story about a fox in winter, sheep, sorry, cows, sleeping, grazing, a ship on the water of Kadam, a radio inside, and the mother and a father. Says some force vibrates softly in the depths of the field. In the evening, the snow falls. It's quiet. The ships dock. A molecule grows in the depths of the winter harbor with lanterns. As we can see, they are tiny molecular machines which perform this movement. I emphasize once again, at the level of molecules. There are 8 billion protein molecules in a cell, and these tiny little machines make coordinated movements. When a galloping horse moves, there are proteins in the muscle fibers. Movement is actually caused by actin and myosin filaments sliding on each other. And even when I raise my hand in my muscle cells, these protein fibers slide into each other. The machine turns, life goes on, and these secondary interactions are at room temperature. So, at the temperature of life, they always split due to the energy of heat movement, but only one bond splits, so the structure itself remains unified, but at the same time, certain elements can move enough for significant atomic level motions, and the consequence of this is illustrated in the previous figure. Bustling movement that we saw. So the spatial structure of proteins is in a constant state of flux at room temperature, and this kind of flexibility makes it possible for proteins, like molecular machines, they are capable of performing atomic movements. Those are the lyrics, every single line of it. It is just somebody who's so fascinated with this, and they're like, this is awesome, I need to tell somebody. And lyrically, sorry, vocally, it didn't really come off with this enthusiasm. I didn't really catch that in it, but reading this is like reading a text message from somebody who just went on like the Cells Wikipedia page and their mind was blown, and it's like 3 in the morning and they're like, dude, did you know all this about cells? This is really awesome. And like, it's kind of infectious. It has like a, I don't know, like childlike energy. There's an innocence to the lyrics, and it's not a song about them. You know, if this was done by the ocean or something, we might have had a song that tried to personify the cells or talk about all of this from like the microscopic layer with the cell as the main character and like really making it larger than life. But this guy's just like, hey, I found some facts and I wanted to tell you about them, so I'm going to list them all, and there's going to be music playing alongside it. And I hope you're really interested in all this because I really am. And just like, okay, man, I'm here for it. Lay these facts on me. I don't know, man. I kind of wish the vocal delivery had this energy to it. I don't think the harsh vocals and the operatic cleans really sell what's going on here. And there's a real big disconnect there that maybe it works better for the music, but I'd really love to hear this excitement come through the vocals since it seems like this person is very excited to share this information with me. It doesn't really help me understand the music any better. I still want some help on that, but these are my thoughts on thy catafalques. Man, that is a tough name. I think I pronounce it differently every single time. Molecularis pezetek. Let me know what you thought of this track, if there's anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on. I asked a bunch of questions. You got answers? Throw them down in the comments too. I'm curious. Above the comment section in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, I greatly appreciate all three of those. We have one more of these today. We're going to be checking out a newish track, I think. Yeah, 2 months old from Deathless, which is interesting. I've been waiting for their new album, and I don't know why I've been waiting for their new album. It's been on my list forever, and it's supposed to come out this year, but like this year's almost over, and it doesn't have a release date yet. So, anyways, this might be an interesting moment to remind myself why Deathless is on my my listen list, my radar. That's what we're going to be checking out. Otherwise, drop by tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. As usual, we're going to check out some more special selections. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.